My body isn't flawed. Your thinking is. And we're off to a great start. So I recently did a video that featured an article from a sex-positive feminist, and I found out that she has an Instagram where she posts memes. So we're going to do a video reacting to them. This is not intended as a hate video. I like the sex-positive community. I don't like some of the anti-male stuff that I sometimes see, but this is just me wanting to do something lighthearted. I like to shift it up. I do a lot of serious content, so I just want to do something that's fun, look at some memes. Plus, I think it's really good to change your perspective every now and then and to look at what women are saying about men. Okay, men, kissing, touching, fingering, eating out, penetration. Look at all the steps that they've skipped. That is great. That's so true. That is one of those gender differences that is applicable to like 99% of the population. Women take time to warm up, but men are just ready to go. They think foreplay and all those middle steps are just pointless. This can sometimes cause issues when men in a relationship, they just want a 5-minute stress reliever, but a woman's like, no, I need like an hour of, build up and tension before I'm ready to go. It's usually the man that compromises because it's like a team race. You can really only move at the pace of your slowest member. If your female partner wants a lot of foreplay, then you've got to give it to her. Otherwise you get nothing. Dick is abundant and low value. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a pretty crude way of putting it, but I agree with the sentiment. I've said many times that the world's most abundant resource is thirsty men. Just yesterday, I read on Reddit, a guy did that experiment that I think most guys should try at least one point in their life, where he makes a Tinder profile for an average looking girl, like not a hot girl, just an average looking girl, and he watched his phone just blow up with thousands and thousands of matches. I think that theoretically, a lot of guys can understand how abundant male attention towards women is, but it is a different experience when you've actually seen it for yourself and you've felt what it's like to have that much attention just come at you. I would disagree that dick is inherently low value though. Some dick is high value. I guess memes aren't as funny if you have to put disclaimers on them. Your appearance is the least interesting thing about you. 100%. A pretty girl can get a man's attention, but if all she has to offer him are her looks, then she's not going to keep it. A high quality man requires more depth from his partner. And I really like this aspect of feminism, this part that encourages women to see themselves as more than just their appearance and to develop themselves into something of an interesting person. Things a vibrator can do that a man can't. Number 1, listen. Number 2, take a joke. Number 3, find the clitoris. This one puts me in a tough position because I don't find it funny, but then I kind of prove point 2 correct, that men can't take a joke. I don't know what to say about that one. I'm just going to move on. Okay, and this one, she's giving me the finger. Her shirt says, "Women don't owe you shit." How charming. I mean, I guess I'm kind of in the same situation with this one. I suppose it's meant to be a joke. But you know how abusive people will sometimes say like some horrible insult, criticism, bullying, abusive thing, and then when you get upset, they'll be like, "Oh, what? Can't you take a joke?" Yeah, look, I don't know. I just wonder how she would react to a picture of a man, doing this with a t-shirt that said, "Men don't owe you shit," Would she find that funny as a woman? If pussy wasn't meant to be eaten, why is it shaped like a taco? Okay, yeah, that one's good. Your sexual history does not define you. Okay, so, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the owner of this particular Instagram account is part of that feminist movement that believes that men shouldn't take a woman's sexual history into account when judging her merits, like her viability as to whether or not she'd make a good long-term partner. And that any man who negatively judges a woman's past sexual choices, past sexual behavior, number of partners, etc., is an insecure man, misogynistic, and he just wants to control women because he has a fragile male ego. I don't believe that. That is not at all my perspective. I believe that the roots of men being cautious around promiscuous women are not social. I believe they are biological, and we have evolved to be suspicious around, loose women because of increased likelihood of paternity uncertainty and infidelity. I think that most men have also noticed that psychologically speaking, women who sleep around a lot often do so because of low self-esteem issues. I'm not saying all of them, but I am saying enough that, a man who's paying attention has generally noticed this correlation. Having said that, your sexual history does not define you. I think that is the sentiment I could generally get behind, in that you're not defined exclusively by what's happened in your past. So if you were promiscuous in your history, but for the last 5 years you are a completely different person, then to be judged on what you did a long time ago, that would seem rather pointless. If that person is still promiscuous, then their past is extremely relevant. But on the whole, I think people should be judged on who they are now. This picture took 37 attempts. Haven't had sex in weeks, dealing with low self-esteem, cried right before this was taken. I really like this one. I think that there are too many women out there who present this glamorous image of themselves on social media, like they're perfect and their life is perfect, and it makes all the young, impressionable girls who follow them and look up to them feel miserable about their own lives. I can see that this woman has also done a bunch of posts of her, modeling without makeup, and I love that. This is the kind of feminism that I can really support because I think it encourages women to have realistic expectations with regards to their own beauty. Have you ever seen that video on YouTube of the time lapse of a woman who gets her photo taken in a modeling shoot and then what they do to her afterwards in Photoshop to make her look just completely unrealistic in terms of how beautiful she is? It's completely ridiculous, and it makes women feel absolutely awful about themselves. And so I like things like this. Not everybody has to be perfect and beautiful. Hard pills to swallow. Women actually do like nice guys. You're just probably not that nice a guy as you think you are. Take daily as needed. Yeah, definitely. It is so cringeworthy when some guy puts on this act of being a nice guy and he keeps it up until the point where she rejects him, and then suddenly he completely loses his temper and starts insulting her, yelling at her, saying, "You just don't appreciate what a nice guy I am." There is an entire subreddit of text conversations where you can see men, like nice guys, losing their shit at women. I think what some women don't understand though is that when he loses his temper, there's a purpose, like there's a reason at least. He's not just being a dick for no reason. A lot of the times when a guy gets angry at, women not appreciating the nice guy, it's because he was trying desperately to embody that archetype, to play the role that women have told him that they want. And so when women are telling him, you just need to be a nice guy, and when he puts on that act and then he gets rejected, he feels angry because he feels betrayed, like as though someone has been giving him intentionally bad advice, and setting him up to fail. She is absolutely right though. Pretending to be nice to get laid is not authentic, and most nice guys are not as nice as they think they are. Slut. A woman who has sex as freely as a man. Yep, I would agree with that. That's pretty much the definition. Where I'm 99% sure that she would not agree with me is that men and women are biologically different, and so it is reasonable that we have different standards when it comes to sexual behavior. Like, I believe that double standards absolutely exist. It's 100% real, but I don't think that it's socially constructed. I think it's biological. I imagine a meme like this is intended to make people feel bad about the negative judgments they have about, female promiscuity, but I think it's a losing battle. I don't think that you're ever going to be able to shame people enough to be able to remove that core feeling that we have that just says that promiscuity on a male just sits better than promiscuity on a woman does. And it's not as though this is some kind of aberration. We don't expect women to do the same level of physical, hard, dangerous labor that men do, because there is that biological difference that makes men stronger, and differences in biology lead to different expectations. And I think that's what you're seeing in sexual behavior. Is there anything more romantic than gagging during a blowjob? Like, I momentarily gave up air for you, dude. You're welcome. No comment. Causes of online sexual harassment. Women posing nude. Women posting sexual pictures. Women writing openly about sex. Women reviewing sex toys. Creepy men. 100%. This whole she was asking for it mentality is exact same justification that like rapists use. She dressed provocatively, so it was okay for me to rape her. She posted provocative photos online, so it was okay for me to harass her. No, dude, you're just a creep. You need to find something better to do with your time and mind your own business. Men seriously be acting like God's gift when we have vibrators with 28 settings that don't talk back. Yeah, I really don't like this, because this reminds me of all those toxic comments that you might see men make, laughing about how women are going to be replaced by sex dolls. It's just more of this divisive tribalism. But saying that the other gender of our species is replaceable by a sex toy is awful. It's dehumanizing. It reduces the other gender to the status of a sex object. Yeah, I get that it's a joke, but I've seen too much of this that now I just find it so distasteful, and it's so unhelpful. Men and women need each other. We need to cooperate. Let's just stop all this pointless stoking of the fires of tribalism. It's not my job to be beautiful. I don't exist to be objectified by you. Yep, okay. Maybe I'm not too sensitive. Maybe you're just a dickhead. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that does happen. I'm sure it does. But you know what else sometimes happens? Is that maybe that man is not a dickhead. Maybe the woman just isn't used to anybody calling out her double standards and hypocrisy. And she gets offended by any man who doesn't offer her blind conformity to her views, and she interprets that as sexism. I'm feeling a bit pissed off. I think that vibrator one that got to me a little bit. I'm probably not being as objective as I'd like. Okay, I just took a moment for myself, feeling good, ready to go again. I am not embarrassed about the number of guys I slept with. I am obviously embarrassed about the quality. My first thought is that doesn't this one kind of contradict that earlier meme about not being defined by your sexual history? I guess being embarrassed by and being defined by are different things. But anyway, I really like this one. I wholeheartedly endorse the sentiment that you should be embarrassed by the quality of people that you slept with in the past, if they're low quality people. People are not equal. Some people are better than others, and it's normal to take that into account when, judging how you should feel about your sexual history. If a woman that you want to date has slept with 2 guys in the past year, and they were great guys, the sort of guys that you'd be friends with, and she was in a relationship with them, that wouldn't be that difficult to stomach because that sort of behavior makes sense. But if the 2 guys that she slept with were low-life dropkicks, the kind of guys that you'd never be friends with, and she wasn't in a relationship with them, it was a one-night stand, she was drunk, she didn't use protection, then obviously you're going to feel worse about that. That's completely normal, and that's completely rational for you as a man to think like that and to judge her based on the quality of her partners. And it makes sense for a woman to do the same. Not all men, but always the men who say not all men. I'm a bit torn on this one because personally, I do believe in the not all men sentiment. I think that it's really important that we don't divide ourselves into men versus women. I think the idea of a gender war is totally moronic. I think a much more sensible division is the high quality men and women against the low quality toxic extremists that you find in both genders. So that's what I like about the not all men sentiment, because it's that reminder that we can't just demonize an entire gender based on the negative actions of a few bad apples. I think that it is important that we continuously remind ourselves of that and that we make that point again and again and again so that we don't descend into a gender war. However, I can kind of see where she's coming from, because when a woman writes in my comment section, you think all women are awful, you think all women are gold diggers, it gets annoying because they're making that not all women comment when they really don't need to. Anybody who is familiar with my work and my worldview, who's actually had a decent look at my catalog of videos, they'll know that I don't believe all women. It gets frustrating and laborious to have to make that qualification every single sentence that I make. Sometimes it's just easier to just say, and women do this. At some point, you just want people to give you the benefit of the doubt rather than looking for misogyny where there is none. And so I have some sympathy because maybe this woman is in the same place. She's sick of having to qualify every single time. Yes, not all men, just chill out. I don't know. I think more than anything, this is probably just the limitation of platforms like Twitter and Instagram, where you just make, short points in just a couple of sentences. In that kind of format, you can't really provide any context or nuance. It almost seems as though it's a perfect recipe to have people misinterpret your meaning. That way, everybody thinks you're saying different things and they have that justification to just lose their minds and argue with each other. People sometimes say to me, you should go on Twitter, you should go on Instagram. You can't just be on YouTube. You need to diversify. But for me, I'm just not interested in a platform that forces you to squish the complexity of your ideas into just a few sentences where they can so easily be misinterpreted, because I don't want to create controversy. I don't want to argue with anyone. That's just pointless. I'm getting a bit off track now. Let's just look at one more. All right, this next one's big. I'm going to make it full screen so you can see it. Stop being a whore. Can you suck my dick, please? Stupid hoe. If you send some 60 pictures, you're very hot. You are making dicks bigger. Yo, can you send a nude, please? I really like you a lot. And then next to it here, this is her response. Why can't all women be as horny as you? If I had $1 for every time a guy left a comment like that on one of my columns, I wouldn't need a job. Of course, I could retire equally as early as if I had earned the same every time a man responded to one of my articles or posts calling me a whore. These paradoxical statements explain everything you need to know about the collective male understanding of female sexuality. Yeah, okay, this one I dislike the most. This is the worst post that she's made. I find this one to be really intellectually dishonest. I know this video is meant to be like funny memes or whatever, but this one I really find to be like manipulative, and I want to just take the time to explain why what she's done here I think is really inappropriate. Yes, if a single man calls her a whore and then that same man solicits her for nude photos, he is a creep and he is a hypocrite. Absolutely. But you see here at the end where she writes paradoxical collective understanding. There is no collective understanding putting men into a group and then judging individuals based on the actions of that group. Understanding isn't something that can be achieved collectively. You know, the group doesn't have an understanding. Only an individual has an understanding. And so I find the framing here to be completely manipulative. If she posts a sexy photo of herself and man A calls her a whore and then tells her that she shouldn't be exposing herself on the internet, whereas man B encourages her and then asks for more sexy photos, both men should absolutely mind their own business, but there's no inconsistency because they're coming from different men. So I sympathize that it sucks that she is receiving hate from two contradictory points of view because it probably makes her feel as though she can't win. But she can't claim that collectively all men are therefore hypocrites and then use that to dismiss any criticism. That's ridiculous. The intellectually honest approach is to take each individual point and then debunk it and explain why it's not valid. Now, for all I know, she's done that. This is not somebody who I've read all of their works of. I'm not familiar with everything. This was meant to be just like a fun video, so I'm not having a go at her. I just wanted to explore these ideas, and that's why I blurred her name in all of these posts, because I don't want to start any drama. I know the majority of my audience are great guys and they wouldn't do this, but I don't want 1 or 2% of people going and like harassing her in my name or anything like that. I just want to avoid that completely. But I think this was interesting. It was a good chance to explore some ideas. Like on the whole, like I think some of these memes were pretty funny. A lot of them I agreed with, some of them not so much, and I would want to explore further. But I found that interesting. And congratulations to you if you made it that far into this video. I think that it is important that we spend time trying to understand how it is that women are perceiving men, accurate or inaccurately. It's important that we understand that. If men take the time to consider how their behavior is interpreted by women, and women take that same time to consider how their behavior is interpreted by men, I think the world is going to be a much better place. How do you get over the disadvantage of being short? What do you do if you're scared that your partner is going to gain weight in the future? And are insecure women more likely to cheat on you? All of these topics and many more are covered in exclusive videos available on my Patreon page. This includes the topic of my latest video, when is the right time to tell a girl that you're only interested in something casual? In this video, I talk about the ethics of trying to date women casually when they're seeking more commitment from you. I talk about to what degree you are obligated to be honest with a person about what your expectations are, and the appropriate timeline for actually sharing that with a partner in the dating process. Lastly, I go through the various scenarios and matchups, the degree to which you want casual, she wants casual, you want commitment, you're open to commitment, and how that all fits together with regards to expectations and obligations. If you find it awkward talking about expectations in a relationship and you don't know how to keep things casual, I highly recommend you check out this video. For every video that I post here on YouTube, I post an additional bonus video on my Patreon page. That means that at the moment, you're only seeing half of the total content that I create. If you'd like access to the other half, then please go and sign up at my Patreon. It's just a $5 a month subscription and you get instant access to a whole bunch of exclusive content. It's a wonderful way to support the channel and I would love to see you over there.